Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand. My name is Phil Robertson. I'm a board member here, and I'll be the moderator tonight for this panel to discuss the plight of the Uyghurs who are being held in detention in Thailand and whose plight has recently been extensively in the news. And this is a very timely event. I'm glad you all are here. I'm very happy that we've had such an excellent turnout from the media, from the embassies, and others who are eager to learn the latest updates about what is going on. But before I turn to the program, let me just tell you about a few other events that are taking place at the Foreign Correspondent Club of Thailand over the next couple days. I should also mention that being a member means that you get into all events for free. So obviously we encourage people to consider joining the club. You also get a 20% discount on food and drink, which is quite helpful. This coming Friday, the 24th of January at 12:15 p.m., we're going to have a book talk by Amitav Acharya talking about his book, Tragic Nation, Burma, Why and How Democracy Failed. This is a very important event. He's a esteemed analyst, an author, and historian based from American University in Washington, D.C. Please feel free to come out for that. And also Friday evening, for those of you who like pub trivia nights, the FCCT does one every month. And our next pub trivia night will be on 24th, this Friday at 7 p.m. So form your team, bring your friends, test your knowledge, win prizes. So before I get into the actual event today, I just want to say that this has been an issue that has been going on for years. These Uyghurs, the 48 Uyghurs who are being held in Thai detention, have been in detention for more than 10 years. And so it's timely that we actually speak about this issue and what's going to happen to them next. It goes back to 2015, where one group of Uyghurs was allowed to go to Turkey, the women and children, over 170, while another 109 were forcibly returned to China and disappeared without a trace. At that time, Thailand faced a torrent of international criticism from the UN and governments across Europe, North America, and the Muslim world. And that really stunned the policymakers in Bangkok. They didn't expect that. So for the last 10 years, essentially Thailand has been frozen, not wanting to send the Uyghurs back to China because of fear of criticism, but not prepared to allow UNHCR to have access to determine whether they're refugees, which we believe they are, and allowing them to go to a third country and reunite with their families who have already gone ahead of them. So tonight, first we're going to start with a film. Actually not a film, it's an audio recording by one of the mothers of the Uyghurs who are still in detention in the Suanplu IDC. Next, after that, we will then hear from Nirola Umai, who is Noel Elamai, who is a Uyghur researcher and a journalist, and the author of a New York Times Magazine article that was published about a month or so ago, which I highly recommend if you haven't read it. Following that, then we'll hear from Kun Ankana Nilapajit, who's a member of the Thai Senate and a former National Human Rights Commissioner. Then we'll hear from Sophie Richardson, who is the co-executive director of the Chinese Human Rights Defenders. After that, we'll hear from Kun Kanavi Suepsang, who's a member of parliament from the Fair Party. And finally, we'll hear from Kun Chalida Tajaransuk, who is chairperson of the People's Empowerment Foundation. I should mention at the outset that we invited the Thai government to speak. We invited the National Security Council, we invited the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we invited the Immigration Bureau. None of them agreed to appear. So we've certainly given the Thai government a chance to present their side of the case. Unfortunately, they decided not to do so tonight. So let me first turn to the voice of one of the mothers of the Uyghurs in detention in her plea for her son. We'll start with that. Please go.
Thailand hükümeti ve münasebetlik orunlar, şundakla Akdağın Tayland halkıga. Ben bolsam bir Uyghur ana. 10 yıldan beri azap ve delg'ulluq, iztirab içinde yaşavatgan ana. Bu xatni yazıvatganda kalbim azap ve ümitsizlikке toluvatıdı. Ama ahırkı ümidim mi var? Ben Tayland hükümetinden ötünüp sorayman. Bana yardım kılıp oğlumni qo'yibitanglar. Mening o'g'lim gunohsizlarcha sizlarning ko'chmanlarni tutib turish o'rninglarda tutib turilayotganiga 10 yildan oshdi. Mening o'g'lim jinoyatchi emas. U hech qachon hech qanday birsiga ziyonkashlik qilmagan ham qilmaydi. Mening o'g'lim aqlliq kelgusiga va hayotga to'lib tashqan ishonch va muhabbat bilan yashagan bola. Sizlarning xabaringlar cho'qim bor. Uyg'urlarning jungoda qanday bir sharoit ostida yashayotganidan, qayta tarbiyalash o'rnidan, sababsiz tutib ketishlardan, gunohsiz turmalarda yetish va o'lim jazosi berishlardan cho'qim xabaringlar bor. Mening bu mehribon o'g'lim, aqlliq o'g'lim o'z yurtida tinch yashalmaganligi uchun sonsizligiga o'rinsiz tutib ketilgan Uyg'urlar va normal insondek yashash, ishlash, o'qish fursati qo'ldan tortib olingan. Shu sababdan Jungoning sirtida tinch bir yashash sharoitiga erishish uchun yo'l izlab chiqqan vatandan ayrilgan minglarcha Uyg'urlarning biridir. U faqat tinch yashay, tirishib o'qib yaxshi natijaga erishay degan bir yosh. U shu ana tuproqdan ayrilishga majbur bo'lgan Uyg'ur. U bu izdinish qechish yo'lida taliyi o'ng'a tatmay, sizlarning hukumatinglar tarafidan tutilib qolgan. Shu kundan boshlab erkinligini yo'qotgan. Men bo'lsam balamni qutqizolmay azobda qolgan ana. 10 yil. 10 uzun yil. Sizlar bu 10 yilning mendek bir anaga nima ma'nini bildirganini his qilib beqinglar. O'g'lim bo'lsa kichkina temir qamoqxona ichida necha o'nlagan kishilar bilan qisilishib hayotdagi rohat bir uxlaydigan fursatga xolgan tamqinini yeyolmay, sig'inishga, chidashga, sabr qilishga, hayotga bo'lgan umidining kunsiri tugishiga ko'nishga majburlangan, salomatligi kunsiri nacharlashgan, ruhi tushkunlashgan, yillarcha azoblangan bo'lsa, men bu yerda balamni sig'inib, onu qutqizolmay chorasiz har bir kuni tasti sanab o'tkazayotgan onaman. Tayland hukumati bo'lsa budizm davlat. Xalqinglar adolatparvar, insonparvar, oq ko'ngil xalq. Sizlar bu alaylikinglar bilan dunyo xalqining hurmatiga erishib keldinglar. Men Tayland hukumati va xalqining mening hissiyotimni tushunishinglarni umid qilaman. Men sizlarning gunohsiz insonning azob tortishiga yo'l qo'ymaydiganlarga ishonaman. Mening o'g'lim yolg'iz emas. Uningga o'xshash qismat qolgan boshqa 47 nafar Uyg'urmi shu tutib turish o'rnida oldi 13 yil, keyni 10 yilgacha so'lag'liq. U insonlarning hech qaysisi jinoyatchi emas. Mening o'g'lim gunohsiz va ularmi gunohsiz insonlar. Faqat hayot yo'li va tinch yashash sharoiti izlaganlar. Ammo o'g'limga o'xshash ruhiy va badaniy azobda qoldi. Bu jarayonda 3 er kishi va 2 kichik bola o'lib ketdi. Qabrlar sizlarning davlatinglarda turibdi. Sizlar 2015-yili qaytirgan az degandan 109 Uyg'urning izdirgi yo'q. Untinsiz g'oyib bo'lib ketdi. Ularning hayotda ekanligiga doir biror xabarni biz anglab boqmadik. Sizlar angladinglarmi? Men Tayland hukumatining bu insonlarga, bu Uyg'urlarga insonparvarlik qo'lini sunishini, ularga mehribonlik qilishini, xalqaro inson haqlariga, ko'chmanlar haqlariga hurmat qilishini, bu insonlarni qo'yib berishini, ularni oilasi bilan jam bo'lishga muyassar qilishini so'rayman. Men ularning u tutib turish o'rnida nobud bo'lib ketmasligini, Jungoga o'tkazilib bermasligini, g'oyib bo'lib ketmasligini so'rayman. Bu dünya insonlar orasidagi muhabbat bilan go'zaldir. Bu insonlarni qo'yib bersanglar, ularning butunlay nobud bo'lib ketishining oldini olsanglar deb so'rayman. Ularmi quyoshning iliq nurini, tog'i daryo dengizlarni, gul chechaklarni ko'rsin. Ota-onasi, bolalari va ayollari bilan jam bo'lsin. Biz her vaqt Tayland degan ismni anglasak, sizlarning bu mehribonliklaringizni eslaylik.
Sizlerden ötünüp yana bir qitim soray. Oğlumni ve başka 47 nefer Uygurni kuyup beringlar. Sizlerge ümit bağlagan, sizlerden ümit kütüvatkan közü yaşlıq bir anadan.
Quite a heartfelt plea from one of the mothers of the Uyghurs now held in Suanplu IDC. So next we're going to turn to a journalist, Nirola Elamai, who's joining us online to hear from her about her research on the Uyghurs who have escaped and also about the Uyghurs who are still being held. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this event, and a special thanks to Phil for your efforts and support. Last November, my colleague Denmark and I published a 9,000-word investigative report in New York Times Magazine. This story actually deserved at least 15,000 words, but unfortunately, that's the word limit we got. So we have to cut off a lot of heartbreaking details. The report focused on the wave of the Uyghur refugee fleeing Xinjiang between 2013 and 2014. They, using the human trafficking routes, they crossed the Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Malaysia before eventually reaching Turkey. Our story centered on one of these individuals, Hassan Imam, who was among 220 people discovered in a Thai jungle in March 2014. Within a week of his arrest, 2 additional groups of Uyghur were apprehended in different locations in Thailand. So at that time, the IDC already held other Uyghurs who entered Thailand without permission. But Hassan's group quickly became an international news story. Hassan recounted what happened after his arrest. He told us that he and others were taken to court, where they paid fines for illegal entry. And then men and some children, including toddlers, were then transferred to the Padang Besar IDC. Women and children were being taken to a shelter. A few months later, they were moved to other detention centers across Thailand. Hassan was ultimately sent to Sadao IDC. Before transferring to the Sadao IDC, he and others were taken to a different police station in Sadao, where their DNA samples were collected. We obtained a Chinese leaked document reveals that Chinese government received the photos of 377 Uyghurs from Thailand and instructed police in Xinjiang to collect DNA samples from their family members for comparison. In 2015, over at least 109 people were deported to China, leaving Hassan among the last 63 Uyghurs held in various Thai IDC. And then in 2017, Hassan managed to escape from the Sadao IDC using a nail. He escaped with 10 people, so total number was 11, successfully entering Malaysia. Over the 2 years of interviewing Hassan, he precisely and vividly described his time in detention, how he lived with the constant fear of deportation, and described the moment of hope and despair. Every day for him and for other detainees like an emotional roller coaster. When we asked him, can you think about what it would be like if you were still detained in the IDC? And his body and the facial expression reacted immediately. He didn't say much, but you can see that. And he told us that over a year after gaining his freedom, he repeatedly dreamed of being chased by police and dogs in the jungle. Sometimes he would wake up in terror, and other times he would struggle to wake up. And when he finally wake up, he has to take for him a moment to convince himself he's no longer in Thailand IDC or in the jungle. To write this article, we interviewed more than 30 Uyghurs who escaped through this road. Some reached Turkey without any incident, while others, like Hassan, was once detained, and women who resettled in Turkey in 2015. Most of our interviews we spoke to were farmers or small-scale traders. Many young people had to drop out of school due to the forced labor assignments, preventing them from finish their education, and also impossible for them to find a job. Women faced forced abortion, and farmers were stripped of their land, which was then given to Han settler leaders. Their homes were often torn down by the local government, claiming they didn't meet the earthquake safety rules. So they have to rebuild it, then later tore down again for new reasons. Ultimately, this individual were burdened with unpayable loans, leading to the loss of their land or forced labor to repay their debts. The people who use this road, the most basic right they don't have the basic right. For example, like to choosing their clothes, to read freely, or to use phones without restriction, or even to turn off their phones. All of these were stripped away. Their life were ridden with restrictions. One of the things we realized during our investigation and our interview that all of the things happened to them, they already normalized it. For them, the most difficult part or the things they cannot accept it anymore was arbitrary detention or witnessing their loved one endure a severe punishment. So for them, it's already become impossible to continue to live in that area, so they have to escape. And all of these people's accounts align with the Chinese leaked document. They don't have freedom to leave their homeland because they cannot apply passport. They had no right. It's a very well-known, common knowledge for Uyghur has difficulty to get a passport. They usually will be denied without given any reason. There were people denied the freedom of movement, unlike most of people living in free country. Regarding the 109 Uyghur who were deported, we found a local news report from Xinjiang. The footage featured a woman identified as one of the individuals in the 377 photograph that we mentioned in the leaked Chinese document. The video including her mugshot from Thailand and later showed her in a detention facility in China. She was speaking fairly on the camera, but also claimed she's living well under China's detention facility. Several deported men were also forced to appear in the interviews. One man had a head injury. When the Uyghur journalist asked him what had happened, he replied that I resist at the airport, I don't want to return. And then he pointed to his head, said nothing. Beyond this, there's no information about the whereabouts of these people who has been deported back. Nobody has any information of them. Their families in Turkey and Europe have no idea where they are. They don't know about the sentence. They don't know about their location, nothing. They know absolutely nothing. And none of them harbor any hopes. They don't have evidence to prove what their relative has faced in China, but somehow they all know. And during our investigation, and also after we published our article, we repeatedly hear the questions: Are these people criminals? Well, there's no credible evidence to suggest that these men have committed any crime other than seeking refuge from persecution. And over the past 14 days or 13 days, the Uyghurs detained in Thailand, the last 48, I cannot imagine what they're thinking and how I just cannot imagine that. And their families in Turkey and Europe, they have endured their most horrible moment since 2015. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the very penetrating research you did on that New York Times Magazine article. Actually, as someone who was involved in working on these cases, there was a lot of information in there that I didn't know, and it was really very, very illuminating. So it was a fantastic journalist piece. Next, we're going to turn to Senator Angkana Nilai-Pejit, who has been active here in Thailand trying to get access to the Uyghurs, the remaining 48 Uyghurs, and has been a consistent advocate for their release. And please, Kun Angkana.
Thank you very much, Phil. I would say that the story of Uyghurs who fled to Thailand is long and complex. Since 2015, the Thai authority have sent 170 Uyghurs women and children out of more than 300 individuals found in the rubber plantation in Songkhla province to Turkey in June 2015. A couple of months later, Thailand deported 109 Uyghurs men back to China. Currently, the remaining group of approximately 43 Uyghurs refugees in the Suanphu detention centers and 5 in Bangkok prison are part of a larger group over the 300 Uyghur refugees who fled from Xinjiang Uyghurs Autonomous Region in China in 2013 before being detained by Thai authorities. In late 2017, the Office of UN High Commissioner for Human Rights began receiving increasing allegations by various civil society groups that members of Uyghurs and other predominantly Muslim ethnic minorities communities were missing or had disappeared in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. In 2018, the UN Working Group on Enforcers of Involuntary Disappearances reported a dramatic increase in cases of Xinjiang Uyghur with the introduction of re-education camps in Xinjiang. The Chinese government response to OHCs are that vocational training centers exist for people who had committed minor offenses. In subsequent policy paper, the China government has presented such centers as part of its strategies to counter terrorism and prevent or counter extremism in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. In July 2009, riots broke out in the regional capital of Urumqi. The then United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights called for an investigation into the cause of the violence. The Chinese government reported that from 1990 to end of 2016, separatists, terrorists, and extremist forces launched thousands of terrorist attacks in Xinjiang, killing large number of innocent people and hundreds of police officers and causing immeasurable damage to property. In line with international law, United Nations resolution and other instruments consistently stress that state measures to combat terrorism and violent extremism must be firmly grounded in respect for human rights and rule of law. Since the serious human rights violation in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, many Uyghurs have fled to various countries as refugees. From 2015 to 2019, during my mandate as a member of National Human Rights Commission Thailand, I visited Uyghurs detained in IDC in Sadao District, Songkhla Province, multiple times, and have continued to follow the well-being. And as a former member of the UN Working Group on Enforcers of Involuntary Disappearances, the working group, along with other special procedures, issued numerous statements and communication to the loyal Thai government urging an end their detention and advocating for their rights to stay with their families. On 31st of August 2022, OHCHR released the report titled Assessment of Human Rights Concerns in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The report stated that last year, 2024, there have been reports of 2 Uyghurs refugees dying in detention. On January 10, 2025, it was reported that Thai authorities forcibly detained Uyghurs to fill out forms stating that they voluntarily to consent to be deported. Additionally, unofficial information suggests that some Uyghurs have gone on a hunger strike to protest of deportation. Today, January 21st, the UN expert group released an urgent statement calling on Thailand to immediately halt the deportation of 48 Uyghurs to China. The experts also recall the Thai government that the prohibition on reform prohibits the return of transfer in any manner whatsoever to a country where there is a real risk of torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. The experts urged the Thai authorities to give the detainees access to their legal representatives and to relevant UN agencies. They have returned to the loyal Thai government and will continue to monitor the situations. As the chair of the Senate Standing Committee on Political Development, People Participation, Human Rights, Liberties, and Consumer Protection, I sent an official letter requesting to visit the Uyghurs at the IDC on January 9, 22nd, and 24. However, these requests were rejected by the loyal Thai police. To conclude, I have the following recommendations to the loyal Thai government. First, uphold the non-refoulement obligations. The Thai government should ensure that no Uyghur asylum seeker or refugee are forcibly returned to China or any country where they may be face persecution, torture, or enforced disappearances. Adhere to Thailand international obligations under the Convention Against Torture or the Convention Against Enforced Disappearances and the customary international law principle of non-refoulement. Secondly, to improve detention conditions and end arbitrary detention. The Thai government should ensure that Uyghur detainees in immigration detention have access to adequate health care, legal aid, and communication with their families. Just the prolonged or arbitrary detentions of Uyghurs and explore alternatives such as community-based care or third country resettlement. Third, collaborate with international organizations. Thailand should work closely with UNHCR, OHCHR, and IOM to facilitate third country resettlement for Uyghurs refugees. Allow independent human rights organizations to monitor the condition of Uyghurs in detention facilities. And fourth, to ensure transparency and due process. Disclose information regarding the status of and whereabouts of detained Uyghurs. The government should allow Uyghur detainees access to legal representation and ensure they are not subjected to secret deportations. Last but not least, the Thai government should strengthen human rights commitments by ratifying the 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 protocol to establish a formal refugee protection framework. engage in dialogue with civil society, regional partners, and the international community to ensure the protection of refugee rights. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ankara. We've already heard a little bit from our first two speakers about the situation that the Uyghurs face in Xinjiang, the persecution they face, and now we have the we have the pleasure of hearing from a real expert on this issue of what is happening to the Uyghurs in China. My friend and former colleague Sophie Richardson, who is on the line and will join us and tell us some of the things that the Uyghurs face back in China and what these 48 might face if they were returned by the Thai government.
Great, thank you, Phil, so much for inviting me to join you. And I'd actually like to start by very strongly endorsing all of the recommendations that Senator Neelapaja just offered up. And you know, Phil, you and I have been working on this long enough that when we started, neither of us had to take our glasses off to be able to read our notes, but here we are. And in fact, I do want to briefly start by backing up to December 2009, when we watched the Cambodian government forcibly return 20 Uyghurs who already had UNHRC persons of concern letters back to China. And it's taken almost 15 years to find out even some fragmentary information about what happened to those people. And that includes the following, that almost all of those people were tried upon their return to the region, that most were given sentences of 16 to 20 years. 2 died in detention, and the ones who have survived and been able to share a little bit of information have detailed extensive ill treatment and torture. And I bring that up partly to underscore how long Uyghur refugees and asylum seekers have been highly vulnerable across Southeast Asia in particular, but also how early this began. And if there are things I regret about the last 15 years, it's that none of us really understood these people's flight, which began almost a decade before we were able to start documenting mass arbitrary detention facilities across the region. We didn't understand those people fleeing from China as the harbinger of what was to come. And if for no other reason than to not make that mistake again, we owe these people who are in detention now in Thailand a better outcome. By August of 2022, we finally had the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights publishing a very detailed report that largely echoed the findings of organizations like HRW, the Uyghur Human Rights Project, to find that the Chinese government's mass arbitrary detention, forced labor, religious persecution constituted possible crimes against humanity, which are some of the most serious crimes under international law. And by that point, across the Uyghur region, these abuses had been building for the better part of a decade. Upwards of 1 million people subjected to forms of arbitrary detention simply on the basis of their ethnicity, their identity, their faith, with no way of getting out of that detention other than proving to some arbitrary standard their political loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party and regional authorities. The Chinese government categorically rejected the UN's findings and indeed opted to attack the mandates rather than even countenance the recommendations that were made in that report. And it's unfortunate that the Human Rights Council that convened shortly after that report was published was unable to perform its most basic function of having a debate about those report's findings. And I think that's a powerful indication, along with the specific issues we're talking about here, of Beijing's influence throughout the UN system. So 2.5 years after the publication of this report, what's actually happening in the region? Let's be very clear. There have been no reports of mass releases of people, either from arbitrary detention or from formal prosecutions or legal proceedings And in fact, I would strongly urge people who are concerned about this issue to read a report that was published in 2024 through Yale University by the legal scholar Rehan Assad that looks very carefully at how the Chinese government has in fact essentially laundered legal proceedings such that instead of placing large numbers of people in arbitrary detention, it's just prosecuting them baselessly through the formal legal system instead. So there's no let up in repression on that level. Just about 10 days ago, Radio Free Asia reported on a 17-year sentence handed to a woman in Kashgar who had allegedly taught the Quran to her adult sons illegally. The sons were also given 7 and 10-year sentences for supposedly studying illegally. Let's be very clear, there's nothing in international law that allows for this kind of prosecution. The Chinese authorities have been absolutely unrepentant in their approach to repression in the region. It's been about 6 months, since the Chinese Communist Party secretary of the region, a man named Ma Xingrui, gave a speech in which he asserted that Islam had to be subject to sinicization, which is a term the Chinese government uses essentially to explain that it is going to subjugate religion to party and state control. And this has been one of the signature aspects of the Strike Hard campaign across the region. So there's no real change on the part of the Chinese authorities. One issue that I find particularly disturbing is that in the last roughly 2 years, the authorities have made more of an effort to encourage people from diaspora communities around the world to return to the region, essentially in exchange for, or subsequently subjecting people to greater surveillance of their diaspora communities when they go back home to Australia, the US, et cetera, in exchange for a chance for them to finally be able to find and see family members they haven't been able to reach in years. This is a very disturbing phenomenon. It's obviously illegal, but it's one of several aspects of the Chinese government's different forms of transnational repression. Between 2009 and the detention of this particular group, who still remain in detention in Thailand, we watched governments ranging from Malaysia to Nepal to Pakistan, and subsequently governments in the Middle East forcibly return people to China. The group that is, whose fate we're discussing today, remains probably the single largest group at risk. And I think we're very clear now on what the Chinese government's hunt for these people means and what it intends to do if they are returned. I think we can be reasonably confident, disturbingly so, that they will be prosecuted, they'll be ill-treated, they'll be tortured. It's possible they can be given even harsher sentences. And so much depends on whether the Thai government is actually going to comply with its obligations under international and indeed under domestic law, as Senator Neela Pajit has just sketched out, or whether it is going to capitulate and return these people to an obvious situation of persecution. I understand that the Prime Minister is meant to make a visit to China in early February, but Thailand also begins its term as a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council later that month. And member states are meant to uphold the highest of the lowest standards of human rights. And I think the Thai government would be well advised to start its term as an HRC member, having freed these people and allowed them security and safety and freedom. And I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Very clear, very concise. Super. Next, we're going to hear from Kun Kanawi, who is a member of the Thai Parliament and has been very engaged on this case as well.
Thank you, Kun Phil. Colleagues, friends. To tell you the truth, I don't know how to start and what to start. Because we have heard from the experts, from the researcher, from the expert, from the senator, and also from the expert who work on the Uyghur situation. But you will hear from me is just only a voice of one human being who never ever requesting for any empathy, never ever requesting for compassion for the Uyghur who've been detained at the immigration detention center in Thailand. But I'm requesting for human dignity. So think about, like, come with me, because I'm bringing you back maybe 11 years ago. On the 13th of March 2014, at that time I was still working for UNHCR. I was deployed to the southern Thailand, dealing with the situation of Rohingya, try to identify and provide international protection to Rohingyas who have been refugees in southern Thailand, who've been smuggled, who've been trafficked into the southern Thailand. On the 13th of March 2014, around 1:30 in the morning, I got a call from the Immigration Division 6 commander asking me, hey, Kanavi, come here, come to the jungle, because now we found a group of more than 200 individuals who's not, for sure, they're not Rohingya. Can you come here at 1:30 to identify with me who they are, who they were? So I woke up and then I reached to the Immigration Division 6 in Songkhla province. So I arrived there around 5 o'clock in the morning on the 13th of March 2014. The first thing, my first impression, when I met the group of 200 plus, I found that they're not, for sure, not Rohingya. For sure, they look like Central Asian. Somehow I could not identify. That was my first task when I met with the group of Uyghur. And my task is to identify their identity, who they're from, and who they were, and why they were here. Immigration Division 6 commander asked UNHCR to support them in terms of this identification of the identity of these individual 200 plus. I still remember the first time when I met the group of Uyghur who've been there at immigration, at the commander place. So they sat in the setting like male, all the male sitting in the front rows, 2 rows, and with female ladies and children behind. Whoever tried to reach them, the first thing, all the male, all the guys stood up and said, don't come, just only body language, don't come. That was the first impression when I met the group of Uyghur. I spent maybe 1 week or almost 2 weeks trying to reach out to UNHCR offices around the globe, try to put the phone and put into the speaker, let my colleagues from outside, from other operations to talk to them through the speakers, until I reached one of the offices in Turkey. And we communicated with them. When my colleague from Turkey office operation, they start talking in classical Turk language, in a dialect. So I saw the body language of the people. Some people just look at the speaker, try to identify, oh, who are they? Now, it's a trigger, right away. So we communicated with the Turkish embassy in Thailand, in Bangkok, through my representative from UNHCR. We communicated with them, asked them to come to Songkhla province. With the deputy ambassador, I'm not sure the functional title at that time, but number 2 of the embassy. So he came with a group of 2 or 3. Upon their arrival at Immigration Division 6 at that time, can you imagine? People cry. People cry, people scream. Now they allow the group of Turkish embassy to approach them. Me, I never ever cross a line to the second line of the people there. But for the Turkish embassy arrived with one of the person that they identify that their colleagues or their friend or their family member, they cry and hug. At that time, I found out that, okay, they're from where? From Xinjiang, Uyghur. Immediately, I still remember the time when we spent like almost a month there, trying to identify durable solution for the Uyghur. So we communicated several times to ask the Thai government to look at them. No mercy. And then, as I said, I'm repeating myself, we never ever requested for any empathy. or any compassion, but to respect our human dignity. This is what we try to ask for. Within 2 weeks, the Turkish government, at that time he was a prime minister, now they changed the structure a little bit, the president, right, current at the moment. At that time, the prime minister of Turkey, the Turkish prime minister, he agreed himself through the ambassador to charter the flights, 2 empty planes from Ankara to arrive Bangkok within 24 hours upon the green light from the Royal Thai government to resettle all the 400, roughly 400 Uyghurs from Thailand to Turkey immediately, 24 hours, without any request or anything. Can you imagine that only that green light, that it came to us at that time in 2014, around April, these 400 individuals can have their durable solution on refugee for resettlement. Their family will not be separated. People will not die at the immigration detention center. There will be no pressure towards anyone here. But now, one of my friends, I can talk about my friend, I call him Mr. B. He's huge, he's big. He was a leader, identified as a leader of the group. You heard about Sadao Immigration Detention Center. That was the most, have a good reputation that detained the leader of the Uyghur. Many times, several times that the Chinese consulate office sent the team to visit the immigration detention center. They had to visit at the Sadao Immigration Detention Center. I still remember, my memory is just fresh, that I have to throw my towels, because when at immigration detention center, if the detainee do not want to meet anyone, no one can force them to meet anyone. So the only thing that we could do, we could help to throw the towel for them, to cover their face, to face down on the floor. That's what the only thing that we could do during the visit of the Chinese consulate office to the immigration detention center. And Mr. B was the one who asked me for the towel, even though we could not communicate very well. And I still believe that Mr. B was one of the 109 people who've been deported back to China in 2015. At the moment, I'm repeating again, I'm not asking the Thai government, as a human being, I'm not asking for compassion or empathy or anything, but respect human dignity. If the Chinese government, they claim that these 48 Uyghur refugees who are in Thailand here have a criminal record, I also state openly, give us concrete evidence that they have committed any crimes. International convention, international legal framework will not protect them. International legal framework will not provide them international protection to any individual who committed any criminal activities. But if they do not have any criminal record, if they cannot provide criminal evidence, then let them free. They are refugees. They must be provide international protection, and we have to identify durable solution for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you mentioned, of course, that the Turks were involved in trying to bring that plane down, but also I think the Chinese embassy got involved as well in trying to block that. So the beginning of a sort of push and pull, which we've seen continuously. Khun Chalida, the final word is yours before we go to Q&A, so please give us your presentation and give us your insights to what you've been working on and what you're seeing.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chalida. I'm the chairperson of People Empowerment Foundation. I would like to start with this statement that we also dropped at the door. I draft this statement on the 11th of January 2025 because on the 9th of January I met with the Sheikhul Islam Committee and also the National Human Rights Commission they visit inside the IDC, and we discuss about what happened inside in the IDC. The information that we got from the discussion with our friend, they said that they have some form to give to the Uyghur friend to sign. I don't know. They also said that they didn't see that kind of the form, so we cannot confirm that is the form for deportation or is it the form for them to sign to resettlement in the third country. But there are some form that give it to the Uyghur in the detention center to sign. So that is something that we're very concerned, that there will be something happen in the IDC that is behind the bar, behind the thing, the scene that no one know what happened. And then we also know that Kun Ung Ing, Paetong Tang didn't go to the China on the 5th of February. And we are not so sure what is the agenda that Kun Ung Ing will raise is up to talk with the China. And it's possible that China can raise the issue of the Uyghur with her and ask her to deport them back. And I think that it is will be very, very sensitive for the Thai society. We are Thai people, we are here, and we cannot happen something that kind of the thing that happened. So the statement that draft is signed by 9 organizations and 21 of individual person. There are 3 main important in the statement. The first one, because we don't know what kind of the form that they give it to the Uyghur friend to sign. So we ask at least the authorities should allow the Sheikhul Islam office and also with the National Human Rights Commission to be the witness and see that kind of the form to transparency for the authorities to give that to the Uyghur. And it's been helped the Thai authority, because the Uyghur, they never trust Thai authority, but they trust Sheikhul Islam and also National Human Rights Commission. So that is the first point that we also put in this statement. The second statement, we know that they bring all of them to take photo, and they said that is to update the information for them. We also afraid that update information, what it mean. Maybe they will, because 10 years in the detention center, people will change their face, no? Characteristic, something, no? Because of the bad condition inside IDC. So the picture will be updated, the face and everything. We are afraid that information will send to the China government again. And then this information that will be used to intimidate their families. Or maybe they will also make up some information and say that this group of the people is a terrorist, because they know that there are so many groups that stand up to defend, to deport them back to China. So maybe they will change the topic from asylum seeker to be terrorists and ask Thai government to send these people back to China, because that is also, they are the terrorists, to deport back to extradition, thank you, back to China. So that is the thing that we are very, very concerned, and we are not trust with China, sorry that we say that, and we are not trust with the Thai government, Thai authorities. No? So this kind of the thing, the issue from asylum seeker is will be changed to the criminal detainee and can force send back to China. So this thing that I would like to bring up to concern for everybody. I know that there are so many embassies here. Maybe you can raise this issue up and try to do some diplomat thing to communicate with the Thai government on this. And the third point that we also very concerned, another point, is because we also participate in the committee that we organized on the 10th of July last year. And then the authorities said that they will move them to a police academic center, no? Because we complained that You put them in the jail for more than 10 years without any policy. You should find another place to move them to stay better than the condition in the IDC. IDC is a short temporary cell before deport people back. But for the Uyghur, you don't have any policy, so that you should move. And finally, the information that we got, that they will move them to the police academic school centers. But however, we are not so sure yet they will move them to that place when, or because they did not make any kind of the press conference to the public and let the public know what is the process, what is the decision. We are afraid that when they put them in the car to bring them to the police academic, maybe they will send them to the Don Mueang or send them to somewhere and deport them back. So we are also concerned with this issue again and ask again that Sheikhul Islam Office, media, CSO, National Human Rights Commission, it should be witness of this moving the group of the people to the police academic school. So this is our point that we raise it up in the statement. So we hope that you will get the copy at the door. The second point that I would like to raise is up, because we know that all of the Uyghur friends is in the detention center. They have no voice. They cannot raise anything out outside from detention center. And we as a human being, like Kun Angana and also Kun Kanawi also said, as a human being, as a Thai people, Uyghur is living here for 10 years in the bar. We should be the voice of the voiceless of the people in this country. And we think that this is our position, this is our role to bring it up. For the CSO position, I believe that we have the same position with international body, international mechanism, international body, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of America, and many of the international community don't send Uyghur back, deport them back to China. We should save them the life, shoot them the life. I think that is very clear with the position of the Thai civil society. The last point that I would like to raise is up, as many people mentioned that there are more than 10 years on this issue. And it's happened during the government of Kun Prayut is a military government. And at that time, Kun Prayut, as a deputy prime minister, is a person who charged with this issue. He is a deputy prime minister on security, but he didn't do anything. He put that under the carpet and make the topic, the issue is continue until today. Or they deal something with China, we don't know, we don't have enough information. But right now we have the new government, and Kun Phum Tham is a deputy prime minister charged with the security issue. They should make decision. Prime Minister Paetongtarn and also Kun Thaksin Shinawat, who is a father, who is a former prime minister, should make decision. What is this? What is the decision of the Thai government on this issue? And you see some media friends look toward Thai. They say that we as a group that bring issue up to make Thai has a problem. I would like to say that no, it is not we that make the problem to the world, to surround Thailand and also bombing to Thai right now. Thai government make itself to be the problem of the Thai government, of the administration of Thailand, so that they should be make decision what it should be. We also would like to know what is our prime minister and also deputy prime minister who charged on this topic would like to make decision, and that we will see what happened with international community to be bombing in the Thai government if they make decision something that is not based on the standard of international and human rights standard. So I challenge Thai government here, please make decision in something that the same with the international standard. And we, with the Thai people who also stand for this, I hope that Thai government will make a good decision and not make a wrong decision. So wait and see. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and we now have some time for questions. We have a microphone in the back. If you want to ask a question, please identify yourself and any organization that you represent. Be very clear on who you're trying to direct the question to. If you make a statement, I will cut you off. We're seeking questions, not statements. And of course, after the program, we will have our speakers here so you can also have more in-depth discussions if you're so inclined. But I'm going to take the moderator's prerogative right now and ask the first question, which is, many of us believe that these people should be considered refugees. And all 48 of the Uyghurs have, in fact, sent communications to UNHCR requesting that they be interviewed for refugee status determination. So it's pretty clear that they want to be considered refugees. They want to receive refugee protection. But from UNHCR, we hear silence. We hear crickets. There's nothing. So I would like to ask our panel, what's the role of the UN agencies here? What's the role of UNHCR and the other UN agencies in terms of taking on this issue? What should they be doing? And panel, who would like to respond? Sophie, go ahead.
If others would like to go first, I'm happy to defer to them.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just jump in quickly, Phil, and make 2 points. On your specific question about UNHCR's role, there's nothing that prevents UNHCR from categorically announcing right now, declaring these people refugees. Period, full stop. That's it. This is not complicated. I fail to understand why that has not happened. But more broadly, I think it was Nirola who mentioned the very helpful statement from a number of UN special procedures. And indeed, some of those human rights experts and working groups within the UN human rights system have been helpful on these cases over the years. But I think the silence from the leadership of OHCHR, UNHCR, and indeed the Secretary General himself is not just deafening, it is scandalous. Those bodies exist to intervene in these kinds of circumstances. And we are now on year 10 of what appears to be a preference for quiet diplomacy that has only garnered a decade of torture and limbo and uncertainty for these 48 people, which is just absolutely antithetical to what these bodies are supposed to do. That we have not heard Volker Turk or Filippo Grandi or Antonio Guterres urge the Thai government to declare these people refugees and to find them security, and to tell the Chinese government not only to back off, that it has no right to intervene in these cases, but also that they expect the Chinese government to fulfill the recommendations as set out in the 2022 OHCHR report and through other UN human rights reviews. Because frankly, if they don't do that, let's project out another 10 years and think about what the world looks like, not just for these 48 Uyghurs, but indeed for all Uyghurs and for other victims and survivors of Chinese government human rights violations. Those three people need to speak up, and they need to do so now.
Please go ahead.
I think that maybe somebody might think that the UN agencies is like the T/body, but I would say that if you follow the report of the Office of High Commissioner on Human Rights, I think you will see that it's mentioned a lot of story of human rights violation in China, and especially to the Muslim minority, the Uyghurs. Yeah. And secondly, I would say that if you follow the Thailand review in November, I think you will see the concluding observation that the CAT committee is very concerned about the situation of not only the prisoner, but the refugee in detention facilities, and including the non-reform principle. And as Thailand now the state party of the Convention Against Export Disappearances, and for non-reform is against the Article 16 of the convention. So I think that maybe when Thailand will go through the next review, the diplomat communities should raise the concern about the detention facilities. One more thing I would like to say is that if any of you used to visit the IDC, you can see that the place, the IDC, the places is worse than prison. If you visit the prison, all prison in Thailand is under the minimum standard rule for the treatment of prisoner. But for IDC, the detainees, most of the detainees, some of them never see the sun or the moon. So I think that for the IDC, it's detain people only for short period. It's not the places that anyone should die in that detention. So I think that this is for the Thai authority. I think they know very well, and as I often visit the prison and the IDC, I will say that you cannot compare of those detentions. For the prison, is under the principle of presumption of innocence. So the prisoner were allowed it, like wearing ordinary clothes. It's like under they call the remand prison. So it's under the principle of presumption of innocence. That much better. But for the refugee, the asylum seeker, or others who detained in detention facilities, even though they not all of them didn't do anything wrong, but it's like they were punished with innocence. So I think this is very challenging to Thailand. When I investigate a lot of cases in IDC, I found that each year more than 10 people die in custody, and yeah, I think it's very sad, and it's difficult to access to medical health care. In the IDC, they have a lot of like a small room, and all the detainees, they were like they stay together. Sometimes they torture other person by the immigration officer. Never know. Yep. Even only when the families visit, so that the family will know what happened in IDC, or not many people maybe torture or like face seriously sick without the outsider to know or investigate.
Please, go ahead.
In responding to your question, good Phil, maybe you forgot that the ex-UNHCR, right?
Right.
So
Oh, I remember.
yeah, you remember now. So when you talk about the role of UN, the UN agency, UNHCR, OSCHR, things like that, it's for sure, we need to take a leadership. But I'm the first UNHCR staff member who met with the group of Uyghur on the ground. And I still remember at that time, the representative of UNHCR, she's quite vocal on the issue. We approached the government quite harshly about identification of durable solution for this Uyghur that been detained at the IDC. And for sure, it depends on the leadership of each individual, how much they have the gut to talk to the Thai government. So as you can see that we have to talk about the reality in Thailand here. So luckily that we have many embassies here. So bureaucracy in Thailand is quite strong, to tell you the truth. And UN agency, they're here by invitation. They cannot come here without invitation from the government, Royal Thai government. So if UN agency says something that against the policy, especially national security policy, the PNG is there, person non grande. So everyone can get PNG from the Thai government. And especially this kind of issue is quite sensitive. It's contained about relationship between Thailand and China, Thailand and the international community. If you're an agency that jump out of the box that instructed and structured by the Thai government, you know the reality, what's going to happen to you an agency. So this is the reality that we're talking about. But at the same time, you have to look at the leadership of each UN agency, how much mandate they have, and how much the mandate that instructed by the Royal Thai government that they've been provided. So this reality. For sure, it will take quite some time for the UN agency, especially in this situation for the Uyghur refugee in Thailand, to stand up all together. But I still see the light at the end of the tunnel, that not only UN agency, but international community here in Thailand, standing up together, all together, and talk in the same voice, in the same direction about durable solution for refugees, especially for Uyghur who've been detained here for more than 10 years. I never ever mentioned about the solution at interim. You can see that in my statement, in my story, I never talk about at interim because I think enough is enough. It's almost 11 years for the innocent people who've been detained consecutively without any communication with their family members. If we're still talking about at interim, I don't think that is the durable solution. We have to talk in reality. If they want people who committed any criminal activities, give us concrete evidence. If not, let them free. They're innocent people. Durable solution for them, resettlement on the family reunification basis. That is the only way that we can do. So this is my proposal. Already I proposed to the chamber of the House of the Representative, to the Prime Minister of Thailand. And let's see what's going to happen. But we all need all the international community to stand up together. Thank you.
Yep. We have Chalida and then we have Nirola.
Yeah, I would like to support Kun Kannavi. It is not just only the role of UNHCR to do this or the other international organization. It should be Thai government who make decision. What is that? But however, the international community should help Thai government to understand and make a good decision on this. Because sometimes they make decision based on their interest. They make decision based on the relationship with China or something. So we need good community, international community here to send the communication to the Thai government to make good decision and in the comply with the international laws to protect this group of the people, not just only UNHCR. Thank you.
Yeah. Nirola, please.
Thank you. Excuse me. According to the AP News, all these 48 men has applied for refugee protection. And according to the AP News that the UNHCR received their letters. I was told as a journalist we're not allowed to advocating for them. So I don't know what I'm going to say here will cause me trouble or not, but I think at this stage, especially the deportation is in Midman, and the men are on the hunger strike, according to the New York Times report, which I co-reported with Su Lee. Men are on the hunger strike, and I believe today, they started like since January, and then today is 13, and their health condition is not good. And I don't know what's going on right now, but any normal people could understand for 13 days of hunger strike, the situation cannot be good. So for the UNHCR part, again, I don't know if this is going to get me trouble or not, but at this stage, I think UNHCR, it will be helpful for these refugees that they issue the asylum seeker certificate now. I mean, that is not the final assignment, but the deportation risk is imminent. And simply this is asking the UNHCR to do this according to their mandate. And when someone asks for protection, they issue the certificate and process their claim. And I believe this is not happened yet. Hopefully everything's also won't get in trouble, but this is what I think.
Yeah, I would just say, as an aside, that I spoke to when I was working for Human Rights Watch, I spoke with a new humanitarian, I think of maybe about a year or so ago, and raised some concerns about UNHCR's performance in this matter. I would just note that when people were looking at what was happening with North Koreans who had fled to China, North Koreans who had fled to China, who had legally left the country, when they were caught by the Chinese and sent back to North Korea, they were all tortured. And that was something that was standard operating procedure by the North Korean authorities, because they were sorting out what the people had done in China, and then they were going to figure out what sort of camp they were going to send them to. And so there's been an argument that all North Koreans who are in China, because they would face torture and worse if they are sent back to North Korea, should be considered refugees surplus, that they should automatically be considered refugees, and that the UNHCR can make that kind of determination. And the argument has been made that the same sort of situation applies for Uyghurs, recognizing what they would face if they're sent back to China. So I'll just leave that as a point to make, and note that the microphone is still open. I'm not sure if anybody's going to ask a question. Here we go. Please identify yourself and any affiliation.
Sure. My name is Stephen Pei. My day job is at a Chinese policy consultancy called Trivium China, but I'm asking this question in a personal capacity. It seems that China's role is, to some extent, an elephant in the room in this conversation tonight. And typically speaking, in a circumstance like this, we would expect, and we're hearing that China is bringing pressure to bear. And I would be really interested to hear from anyone on the panel, or honestly, any of the many journalists in the room, if they've heard additional detail about exactly how that pressure is working. So under, in other situations where the Chinese government is interested in achieving a specific outcome, persuading a trade partner, persuading, another country to do something one way or another that it wants. There are kind of specific tools that are often used. For example, disrupting trade. And disrupting agricultural trade, which is what I work on at my day job, is one of the most commonly used tools. And over the course of the past month or so, we've seen some weird little disruptions of Thai exports into China, like a lot of testing of durian, like a lot of disruption around the liquid sugar imports by China, which had been moving without question for a while. But I haven't heard, and you would really need to hear someone explicitly say that China had connected that issue to this one or to another one, because the nature of agricultural trade is that these products are complex and there often are real problems, so it's difficult to know. The other big one that's on the radar at the moment, of course, is the disappearance of Chinese C and D list celebrities into scam camps, which has apparently severely impacted the travel numbers coming in for the upcoming Lunar New Year holiday to Thailand. And I just wonder if there's been, if these are examples of a pressure campaign that hasn't been put together yet, or if there are other examples, if anyone has sort of been able to identify pressure that's being brought to bear at the moment about this issue. Thanks.
Thank you. So the question is Chinese pressure and tactics on Thailand. What have we seen? What has been manifested? What do we know? What do we suspect?
If I may.
Please go ahead.
So just really from connecting to my statement earlier, my story about the Chinese influence toward the decision of Thai government, Royal Thai government at that time. So in 2014, as I mentioned, so the reason for the Thai government to back off about this, the resettlement of 400 Uyghur to Turkey, because of the communication between the Royal Thai government in the policy level, the government with the Chinese government to stop, to pause everything for resettlement at that time. So that the first thing, the first incident, and the first evidence that I could see that was the first time. And then I left the country in 2014 at the end of the year. And later on when I returned here and become the member of the parliament, I had a chance to discuss, to talk 4 eyes with the ambassador, Chinese ambassador here. The only thing that he mentioned about the Uyghur is to return the Uyghur to China because it's their country, their hometown. Everyone wants to return to their hometown. It's very peaceful in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. It's very peaceful and everyone needs to return. So that is statement very strong, explicitly to everyone, that they convey the message to publicly in Thailand. It's not wrong, because their country is beautiful for sure, but maybe not beautiful for the Uyghur who've been fled from the country and refugees here in Thailand. For sure, the Thai government and also Chinese government, when they have a discussion, they will talk about investment, they will talk about business coordination, business partner, things like that, investment of billions of dollars here in Thailand. However, the security matter that the Chinese government really concerned is very tiny thing, like 48 individuals who've been here in Thailand, detained for more than 10 years. That tiny thing is big issue for security situation that the Chinese concern. So every time when they have the discussion between Thai government and also Chinese government, this for my impression, they will raise the issue of the 48 Uyghur refugees who've been detained in Thailand for more than 10 years. So for sure, for these almost 11 years, there'll be communication from the Chinese side to the Thai side, and also the pressure from international community toward the decision that the Thailand going to make for the Uyghur. That's why we have seen the status quo policy for the Thai government that they're not going to touch upon the 48 or before it's 53 Uyghur and then pass away for 5. So that's why we have seen the status quo policy from Thailand and the pressure from China, and now we have the pressure from international community. So they are in the awkward position, I can say it, I mean the Royal Thai government to make decision. Thank you.
May I respond?
Please, go ahead.
I think that this is a time for challenge to the Thai government to make decision that they would like to keep good things correct way to solve the problem, to make decision. I believe that, okay, if the trade that Thai will send to China is maybe have difficulty, because this is the issue that also National Security Council also answer to us, that because the interest of the Thai government with the China-Thai. But I believe that, for example, durian that you also raised it up, if the Chinese, they not allow the Chinese people to import durian from Thailand, okay, no need to eat Thai durian. And the people will pressure their own government, and I hope that the community in Europe or America maybe can order more durian from Thailand. To help. Yeah. Yeah.
Leave it here for us and we'll eat it.
Some country maybe can help Thailand in this issue. So I think that for me, as a people, as a human rights organization, we would like to make decision to save the life of the people than the trade. And the trade can be changed in the future. Yeah, right now maybe there are a lot of pressure to the trade of Thailand, but however, it will be relaxed and flexible in the future, because they also need durian from Thailand, they also need many things from Thailand. China want to come to Thailand. So for me, I think that our stand, it should be protect the people first. And who know in the future, many of the Uyghur is also a very good businessman. In the future, they can support Thai business in the future, I believe on that. And the other country will understand Thai and maybe will help Thai on the business. I think in a good way, have some hope. Thank you.
Yeah. Sophie, you want to say something, I think?
Yeah, just quickly, the question was a little bit convoluted. I think it was about how visible the Chinese government's role in these cases has been. And I think over the last decade, we've seen at least 3 of the most consistent pathologies that Beijing displays in cases like these. And those include, first of all, trying to get Chinese government officials inserted into the actual refugee status determination process in another country. The second is a continual public insistence that the people who are seeking refugee status are actually criminals that must be returned under things like extradition treaties, and that refugee status doesn't apply. And third, harassing family members who are still in the region as a way of keeping them quiet about a failure to reach determination. But let's also recall that in late 2015, at least some Thai authorities allowed Chinese government officials to come to Thailand and effectively kidnap Swedish publisher Gui Minhai and take him back to China. And I think you can certainly see some evidence of complicity in that. And probably the single best example, or most visible example of the Chinese government's direct involvement in cases like these was in the Cambodia case in December 2009, when the Chinese government sent a plane to Phnom Penh to pick up the people that it wanted back. So it's sometimes more and less subtle about these things, but hopefully that helps answer the question.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
I guess just to redirect the question a little bit, my question isn't, about that aspect. It's about why on earth would countries allow China to intercede in that way, right? Are there other forms of pressure that are being brought to bear? And have those directions in which that pressure is being brought to bear been explicitly identified in the trade and commercial and investment relationship,
I mean, does the Chinese government impose or inflict economic punishments on governments that don't do what it wants? Sure, we don't have time to talk through all of them right now.
Sure, but in this case, has there been an explicit connection in this case?
I would say that I think that it's suspected, but it's not confirmed. I mean, I think certainly I noticed that they're blocking durian, saying that something of food coloring, and there's a lot of concern about the tourism, that the Chinese won't come because the Chinese government is warning people that you could end up in a scam center. So, yeah, it's a big issue. We've got another question, so please.
Peter Trainer, I'm a club member. I have a similar question related to the Chinese attitude. I worked as a consultant in northern China about 2014 and 2015, and at that time there were problems in Xinjiang. There was public protests, demonstrations, there was an explosion on a bus. The Chinese news media portrayed it as criminal activity, that the Uyghurs were a backward people, that the Chinese government were trying to educate them, but in fact they were terrorists. So the Chinese government doesn't regard the Uyghurs as refugees, they regard them as criminals and terrorists. This was in the news media, and the people that I spoke to, the educated Chinese, believed it. When I showed them reports from Reuters and the BBC and AP about what had actually happened, they said that's just Western propaganda. These people are criminals. They don't deserve to be treated like normal people. They deserve to be punished, tortured, just the way the 9/11 terrorists who blew up the World Trade Center. They were categorized, they were placed in the same category as that. So the question is, if that's the Chinese government and the Chinese people's mindset, that these people are criminals, they don't deserve human dignity or human rights or compassion or empathy, if that is the driving impetus, will that ever change? Will any pressure from the UN or any organization make any difference if the attitude is these are criminals, they're not refugees, so they deserve what they get and they deserve to be brought back and executed and tortured?
Thank you.
Can that change?
Right. Who would like to answer that question? Changing the inability, the difficulty of changing the Chinese government mindset writ large.
Let me become politician.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
Being politician is quite difficult. However, we will not interfere with anyone's internal affairs. Now I finished my part as a politician. But the thing is that when we try to change the attitude of one specific country, that believe, and for sure, certainly they are the powerful country economically and militarily, and everyone they are here in this region. It's quite challenging for the middle state like Thailand try to change. Because when we talk, whenever we talk, when we have a chance, when we talk about the Uyghur refugee in Thailand, we never change the mindset, the attitude of the high level of the Chinese government. Even the ambassador here, he's a representative of the Chinese president. He convey the same message to all the Thai public here that we need our people back to our country. So when we talk about the dignity, humanitarian or human rights principle, we're talking about different paradigm. We are in a different paradigm with the Chinese government when we talk about this Uyghur situation. So they are in the paradigm of the security mindset, but we are talking about the paradigm in humanitarian and also human rights. So we cannot talk to each other different languages. So that's why it's quite challenging when we have to identify the solution in the middle. However, we have to come up with our agreement. So I still believe that we can come up with the agreement when we talk about this Uyghur refugee in Thailand. So even though they try to talk about this, if Thailand not going to agree with them about deporting back the refugee here to China, we will cut down our investment, we will cut down our trading with Thailand. Even now we have the FTA with ASEAN and China. They try to become the big brother all the times. So they will try to pressure Thailand all the time. But we have to say that this is business and human rights. So if we do not concern ourselves in this business and human rights, so your investment will be zero as well. So we have to talk to them, but if I'm in the position, but now I'm opposition. I'm not in a position. If I'm in a position that I can have official communication with the Chinese government, I strongly believe that we can convince the Chinese government to consider in a different way.
Yeah. Thank you. Nirola, please go ahead.
Yeah.
It will be very difficult for Chinese government to change this mindset because this is not just 2 years since. This has been going on since 1949. It's just in different propaganda verb or any kind of the different format to stigmatize the Uyghur people as terrorists. We have been seeing from the leaked documents that 14 years old has been sent into re-education camp. We're also seeing like 73 years old has sent into the re-education camp because they have some problem in their mind. And this is not just happened in China. We have been seeing this even in the literature, 1984. So I don't need to say more on this, but I can share some of my insight when I was living in China as a Uyghur. They will always repeat, Chinese propaganda department will always release this kind of video to intimidating the Uyghur inside China and also trying to convince outside people in outside or in the international community, like a scholar, journalists, to help them to continue to spread this propaganda that Uyghur are the bad people. This is why we have been seeing in the Chinese leaked document, people who teaching their son at home the Quran or teaching them how to be a good person, then ended up in prison for 17 years. 17 years in prison. This is insane. And then I'm going to share my own experiences at what happened to me, how Chinese government trying to convince the international community I am connecting with the terrorism. I and my colleague, Professor Laura Murphy, published several forced labor reports, which lead to several companies in several industries has been sanctioned by the Biden administration. And guess what happened next since? The China Daily News openly saying that I connecting with some terrorism. which I'm not. This is how they do that, how to attack someone and trying to take away their credibility, making them to look ugly, making the people who started speaking up or people trying to expose some of the things, and we are become the terrorists. It's always too easy to attack a Uyghur with terrorism. Many people will just easily buy that. We see this during the early 20s. No, sorry, after the 9/11. We have been seeing this all the time. We see the scholars just openly claim in their own research that they're a terrorist group in some area, but turns out there's no. So these kind of things will hurt entire Uyghur community, not only in diaspora, but also inside Xinjiang. And this is, we have been seeing what happened, which is US and several Europe Parliament has been acknowledged that is genocide, and which UN said is crime against humanity. So I don't think people should just, because what Chinese government is saying, and then it must be like that. This is how propaganda will hurt individual. Yeah, but I think this is very difficult for the Chinese government to change that, but also difficult for the Chinese people to have a full picture of what Uyghur people are actually. Imagine you are sitting in a cocoon that all the message is telling you CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is the greatest party in the world. And then Uyghur people has problem, and we crack down on the terrorists, and without any evidence, without anything. And then, of course, Chinese people will think Uyghur people are the problem. They should be eliminated, and we have to support the Chinese Communist Party. Yeah.
May I?
Yes, please go ahead.
I think that to change the attitude of China is very difficult. They are powerful, they are very, very strong, no? And they have a system of them to build up the policy and also come out with the implementation. And one thing that we should not forget that China have good relationship with royal family of Thailand. So maybe if you have a chance to visit the royal family and raise the issue and give the comment to make her to give advice to China. I don't know that it's possible or not, but this is another way, not only trade. Yeah. There are high level of relationship between Thai and China. I'm so sorry to say that. I hope that I will be safe for tomorrow, no?
Yes, you'll be fine because you didn't say anything about who. The floor is open, but I wanted to actually ask a question which is something that goes to the point of Thai people's understanding of this, which is the unfortunate situation that happened at the Erawan Shrine, where there was in fact a bombing, and where Thai officials have blamed at least 2 individuals who are now on trial for that bombing, and claiming that that this was something that was done and that these people are Uyghurs. Now, I know that there's been, I think that trial's been going on for 9 years or something like that, and there's very little information coming out about what's actually going on. But it would be helpful to know how that all fits in. Is there any connection between these 2 people on trial and the 48 who are being held? Because, if China claims these people are terrorists, maybe they're saying to the Thai government that these 48 are connected to this bombing as well. And I simply don't know, but I would like to ask the panelists that sensitive question.
I like sensitive question. We have to be straightforward. So, when one individual commit certain type of criminal activities, the trial should be held against him, against his activity, right? So if anyone been arrested and put in detention or put in prison, been imprisoned for 9 years already. So then the trial need to be completed. And the connection between one person to another or one person to a group of people should not be taken into account. Like for example, as me and Piti and Piang, we go to China, I steal something from the 7-Eleven, they don't have. So I steal something from the market and police arrest me. And for my criminal activity, they should not be charged against Piti and Piang at the same time. The same thing happened if one individual committed any criminal activity that should be taken into account, not the whole group. So, however, the public understanding in Thailand is quite limited.
Yeah.
So when we do not know who they are, when we talk about Uyghur, we said Uyghur, they all are the same. So, so when they come like a connection between the bombing incident and also the refugee being held at the immigration detention center and also the returning of the 109 Uyghur back to China, so people think that they're all connected. But that is a responsibility of the Royal Thai government to complete their trial, so complete the investigation, and then they have the reality and the fact need to be addressed to the public for the public understanding.
And we also try. We also try to give education for the Thai public to understand about this topic, this issue. But however, it is not easy because there are so many issues. And usually the Thai people, they don't understand international issue. So why it's so difficult? We publish many books, we give, and also organize many hearing in the parliament, something like that. But it's very few to change the attitude of the Thai people.
I would say that for Thai people, actually Thai people not welcome the refugee. Most of them think that refugee use the resources of our citizens and the government, so that I think that actually they don't welcome the refugee. And I think that the situation of refugee in Thailand is very complicated, and when we talk about the Uyghurs, I think it's more and more complicated because it depends on like politics, you know. As Thailand have very close relationship with China, you can see that Thailand is very polite to Chinese government and even the Chinese tourists. No, last week I think that you might heard that the Prime Minister urged the Thai citizen, please not call Grey China.
Black China.
So I think that. For myself, for China, they can charge anybody that against their politics or whatever that of terrorists. But for Thailand, we should not follow that. Firstly, I think that Thailand should have fair trial. Thailand ratified a lot of conventions, international conventions, and now Thailand have a seat in Human Rights Council. Thailand have to show their human rights will, and that Thailand should implement it on the international treaty bodies. If the Thai government make decision to deport the Uyghurs to China, I think maybe P. Sharida can complain to the court, no, that extradite or deportation is against the Anti-Torture Act, Article 13. Yeah, I think we can do that and ask the court to investigate and ask the court for the concrete evidence of terrorist charges or whatever. I think maybe that one maybe one thing that we can do.
Yeah. Okay. We're coming towards the end of the program. I see a question. Please go ahead.
Yes. Hi, my name is Peter Bassett.
I can't hear you.
Hi, my name is Peter Bassett, communications consultant. A quick question about Turkey. Kun Kanawi, you mentioned the role of the Turkish embassy in the south when it was 2009, right? I'm just interested, is there a role given the linguistic and cultural connections between Turkey and the Uyghur?
You mean in 2014, right?
Oh, sorry, 2014, but no, 2014. So I'm just wondering, is there a role for Turkey? Are there pressure levers or levers of pressure that can be used in this situation?
Can Turkey help solve the problem now?
Now, so in that time, 2014, they tried their best. They tried their best to resettle everyone there without refugee status determination process has done. So they said, this is the exceptionally, I mean, the first time ever that we have done like a group resettlement without refugee status determination. They have the exemption for this case. However, because of the intervention by the Chinese government, it could not be done. But this time, so if Thai government, they have a gut to say, yes, let them go for resettlement. And so for the family reunification basis, so they can go for resettlement. That one case. However, if there are any other embassies or any other countries that still considering about the quotas of the resettlement of Uyghur refugee in Thailand 48, I think that is another option. And that's also the good option. Because once they've been resettled, they can be reunited soon in the future. So that's why we need to identify potential solutions for the Uyghur who've been detained. So I think Turkey's government and Turkey's embassy here, they're quite influential because they already have the family members of the refugee who've been detained here already. 173 already resettled in 2015. Thank you.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, I think that's the central point is that, in fact, these 48 men who are still in detention, their family members have already gone overseas. So resettlement for them would be family reunification. Yeah. I think, does anybody else, I would like to just sort of give the panel an opportunity to give a last few remarks and then we'll wrap up. Anybody like to share anything further? Well, please go ahead.
In general, I think that Thailand failed to protect the rights of the refugee. Firstly, I want to mention about national screening mechanism. The Thai government, the loyal Thai police and the UNHCR not to train the officer how they can interview the refugee. But now, I think that the screening mechanism that Thailand is very proud and replied to the CAT committee in November, actually it's not functioning. Firstly, I want to say that. Secondly, when I'm the Human Rights Commissioner and I investigate a lot of cases of child detention, but I think if I'm not wrong, in 2019, General Prayut, under the military government, he announced to end child detention. But now, if you visit the detention facilities, you will see children still detained with their mothers or their relatives in the IDC. So I think that Thailand failed to protect the rights of the refugee. And one thing I would say that I often ask for bail, for the refugee, but they're not allowed for bail. When I'm Human Rights Commissioner, I have to sign, to guarantee that the refugee will not spread to other countries. Not for bail now, they not only ask for money. I think 50,000 baht. Not only the money, but you need somebody to sign to guarantee that the refugee will not spread. So I think that one thing I should urge the international community is that we should encourage Thailand not only to ratify the 1951 Refugee Convention, but when Thailand ratified the ICPPED, the Convention Against Export Disappearances, Thailand should implement it. Because it's the international obligation that Thailand pledged. So Article 16 of the convention should be respected.
Yep.
So,
let me say it first because
Last words, yeah, okay.
For me, I would like Thai government to allow them to resettlement in the third country. That is just only the one way to solve this problem that is continue for more than 10 years. I hope that Thai government will do that. And this will be end of the issue, of this issue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kun Kanvini, please go ahead.
okay. I do not have time to mention in details about work in progress. So first and foremost, I have to is very thankful to the Royal Thai government, especially the National Security Council, the police, the Immigration Bureau, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They have done a good job. So in fact, we're supposed to have a work in progress like the relocation of the Uyghur, 48 Uyghur from the IDC to a better place. So that one had been agreed. And because in my committee, Standing Committee in Legal Affairs, Justice and Human Rights, we have agreement that the Royal Thai government will relocate the Uyghur to a better place. And we have the access to UNHCR for refugee status determination even. So we have agreement. So that one is work in progress. However, because of these rumors about the potential deportation of the Uyghur back to China, everything swing back to set zero. So that's why nowadays, initially I was thinking that I'm the one who stand alone for the Uyghur. At that time, so a long time ago, at that time I thought, but later I found out that international community, people in Thailand, also people in other countries, we're standing together. So standing together, getting us stronger and stronger in terms of providing the position of our humanitarian and also human rights, and also our democratic country need to stand all together, identify durable solution for the Uyghur. They need to be resettled as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, 1 minute.
After I'm sending an official letter to the immigration center asking to visit the Uyghurs, 3 official letters were sent, but they deny and they reject all of my requests. So next week on 28th, Tuesday 28th, I will investigate about the cases of Uyghurs. So we will together in front of IDC? No, at my office. Yeah, and I invited the ministry, representative of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, National Security Council, Royal Thai Police, and including civil society, and we will work on the report and send the recommendations to the government.
Anjana, but what is the reason that they not allow you to investigate inside?
They didn't say
Because
anything. They only invite me to their office. That's
Invited to the office, but not allowed to see the Uyghurs. And you've requested 3 times.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will send again.
No, good. You'll request again. Online, any final comments? Please, Nirola, go ahead.
I'm just going to say one sentence. There is a Thai law, Anti-Torture Act, that confines principle of non-refoulement international law. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks.
Yep. That law is something that we're all trying to get enforced with some difficulty so far. But yes, you're right. It does exist. Okay. Well, I want to, on behalf of the FCCT, thank the panel, both the people who are here in person, as well as Nirola and Sophie, who have woken up at early times or have taken a long time to join us online. I know it's sometimes difficult to do this online, but your presence has been very much appreciated. You've added a great deal of information and richness to the conversation, and it's been very helpful. Thank you again for coming to the FCCT. If you want to come and speak to the speakers, please do, and we'll see you again soon. One thing I'm going to say is we're going to, after we close, we're going to roll a tape that the Sanfords, Am and Steve Sanford, took from early days when the Uyghurs were detained, so you can see some of the conditions they were being held in the early days in Sadao, and also the visit of the Chinese delegation. It's on film. So thank you again, and good night.